Welcome into the week one start sit show. We are back again for the 2024 season. It is exciting. It's myself, Michael Sicoli, here with Ricky Rodrigue and Shawn 8386 down the bottom there. Our amazing two people that we usually have on these week one start sit shows. How are both of you guys doing today?
I cannot believe week one is finally here. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting patiently, and it is finally here. I'm so excited to have Red Zone going, have my favorite team going. Hopefully, the Saints will be on and not a different team going on. And boy, I can't speak yet. Although I want to compliment you, Michael, for getting start, sit, show correctly in week one, because that one is very easy to mess up. And so for you to get it right week one and get us going, that was really impressive,
A
Michael.
lot of practice. A lot of practice. How are you, Shawn?
And I am doing great. I'm excited. I got all my big parlays ready to go. Already spent all the money on my new mansion, so all I got to do is get all the touchdowns I signed up for.
That would be nice. That would be nice if we could pick out all the touchdowns that are going to happen in this week one slate.
I've already done it. I'm just waiting on the check.
So he's already done it. Okay. So that's good for everyone to tune in right now and listen to all the touchdowns. It would make a very nice anytime touchdown parlay right here. But either way, we already got our first comment in here. It's good to see Fantasy Sports right here. Saying, hey, thanks for doing an IDP start sit. Not many choices to do so. Yeah, no, well, that's what we're here for. That's part of the reason why we do these things, because we know IDP is obviously an underserved fancy format in general. So we try to do our own and being able to help out with those questions. So if you got any fantasy sports, please feel free to hit us up in the chat with those questions. That goes for everybody. We're going to be here till 12 p.m. Eastern the next 58 minutes. So be sure to ask those questions. Now, I'll start off with a quick question to both of you, gents, because we had some breaking news about 10 minutes before we went live here. Tyreek Hill was a little bit too fast today. A little bit too fast, it looks like, potentially, because he got pulled over and arrested for a driving violation. But he is expected to play, according to his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. So nothing is, I guess, different this week. But do you have any concerns about Tyreek Hill this week? Because I'm sure some people are going to be panicking. Shawn, I'll start with the resident Dolphins fan.
I wasn't worried until you told me he had been arrested, like right before we came on. It sounds like it's already resolved. And I don't think it's going to be a suspension thing. You know, it's nothing like Jordan Addison out there getting all kinds of felonies and stuff. But a little more caution by my top players would be great.
Yeah, we just got a little bit extra information right there that Tyreek was cited for reckless driving. He was pulled over for speeding, according to Jeff Darlington, the reporter. Then he had a verbal altercation, which led to him being put in handcuffs. And to the shock of absolutely nobody, we also have some breaking news out of Cincinnati that Jamar Chase deal is not expected to happen before today's game. And he's doing a very light warm-up right now. I would anticipate him not playing. Personally, I would be very surprised if he does suit up. So factor that in. Keep an eye on that. Obviously, two very weird situations for our two top fantasy wide receivers in the entire game. But that's week one.
I guess Tyreek Hill is fast on the field, and I guess he's fast in driving his car. And he zips through defenders, and I guess he was zipping through and around traffic.
Very, very silly.
I believe those are my first two Scott Fishbowl picks. Not looking so hot at the moment.
Well, I'm sure you could pick up Trenton Irwin, as a lot of people are. And if anybody has some questions about those starts, it's week one, so a lot of people have their starts to start. But if there are starting options on the waivers right now with guys like Andre, I need to learn how to say his last
name.
Yoshivas. Thank you. Andre Yoshivas, Trenton Irwin, big pickups right now, so forth. But we're starting to get some questions in, so we want to jump on that and be sure to keep them coming. Offense and defense, we're here to help it all. Fantasy Sports asking, how do you rank these safeties for rest of season? Cam Curl, Brandon Jones, Grant Delpit, Jeremy Chin, and Von Bell. Ricky, any thoughts?
All right, so we'll work through this. I actually have Von Bell on the bottom of the list.
As do I.
So okay, looks like we're unanimous there. Just the age factor, there was a reason he was let go by Carolina, and even though he had signed a 2-year deal with them originally, he just wasn't the performer he was previously. So he's on the bottom for me. For rest of season, I think I would put Brandon Jones in 4th on the list, just because of the injury-prone nature he's shown. He just hasn't been able to play a full season. So then that starts narrowing it down to Curl, Delpit, and Chin. I think I'm leaning towards Chin as my number 1. I think the way Dan Quinn is going to use him, granted, it's been a couple of years since his rookie season when he was runner-up for defensive rookie MVP, but I think Dan Quinn's going to use him correctly. I think he's healthy. He's going to be used closer to the box. I just anticipate a lot there. Second for me would be Delpit. And it's not just because I'm an LSU fan. Once again, another person who I think they will use a little bit more in the box as opposed to just in the 2 deep, occasional blitzing and so forth, which could be good for big play scoring and all. And then I put Cam Curl in the middle, and I know a lot of people are going to be surprised by that. But in this Rams, in the way they play their defense and the way they play their safeties, I just don't know if he'll be in his position as much to make some of those plays. I think you see a little bit more 2 deep. Quentin Lake is supposed to start next to him, but then we'll move into the star position when they go to five defensive backs, not Curl. So that's why I have that order. And I hope I didn't put fantasy sports to sleep with those first thoughts.
No, in depth and detailed. That's what people are here for. Shawn, what do you think? What do you think about these 5 safeties here?
I agreed with most of it. I do still have Curl above Delpit just because I do think with that defense being so young, the inexperience there at linebacker, all the questions they got after getting rid of Ernest Jones, I do think there'll be more missed tackles or deeper plays to where he'll still get plenty of tackles in his position. And Delpit, every time I like Delpit, he does terrible. Every time I'm off of him, he does great. So I'm leaving him directly in the middle, so I don't have to worry about it. And I do like Chin as the top guy here, just because he, has that versatility. He probably will be playing up in the box more. And he basically is taking Curl's spot on that team. I know the defense will be different, but I expect a big season out of Chin.
Yeah, he's one of those players that it's a good – if for people that waited on DB, he was the guy that you can really take a shot on as a major, jump, a guy that he's, being drafted outside the top 20 and then has a really real chance to jump into the top 12 because we've seen that potential before. I'll agree with most of what was said right there. I'm going to put Von Bell and Brandon Jones on the bottom there. I'm going to still take Cameron Curl at 1 because I am still a big Cameron Curl believer. I like that it's a very underrated thing, but with Chris Shula, who is the new defensive coordinator of the Rams, he came over with McVay in 2017. They both came over with history from Washington. And while there's been a ton of turnover in Washington since 2017, those connections still exist, and they have ways to get insight into players before they make signings. And I think Cam Curl has a real opportunity with the real question marks at linebacker in Los Angeles right now to take advantage of that. So those top 3, though, really, really good options. And a ton of questions coming in, which is awesome to see, including from ourselves, apparently, about calling us beauties. Welcome back to football, everybody. Good to see questions from Samuel Marshall, Fancy Breakout, SRM. Good to see Richard Malone back in the chat here. Josh, TM. All these great guys. We're going to get to all these questions in just a little bit. We're going to start off with Sam Marshall here. Samuel Marshall. Starting 2 defensive ends. You got to pick 2 of the 4 here. Max Crosby is an obvious start. So Jonathan Greenard, pick 1 of Jonathan Greenard, Jalen Phillips, Boy Mafe. Ricky, what do you think? You got any thoughts?
Okay, so Max Crosby's the easy one for me on this one. Against even with the Chargers tackles and so forth, I think he'll figure out if he's lined up across all, he'll figure out a way to best the rookie. Slater was not as good last year, so Crosby's number one on this list for me. Phillips is number 4. And I tell you why, I just don't have a lot of confidence in someone coming back from an Achilles tear this quickly, having that explosiveness, particularly in week 1. Phillips, in fact, is someone that after, if he does get off to a slow start like I anticipate, I'm actually trying to target in it from a trade perspective for later on during the year as he continues to recover from the Achilles. And so, and then I'm going to go with Grenard in the Flores defense as my number 2 over Mafe.
It's a Giants matchup, a Vikings matchup against the Giants is quite appealing. Shawn, I think you're going to feel the same. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Crosby's a no-brainer, and we've seen how bad the Giants were last year. That offensive line looks no better this year. Greener's the play here. Phillips is also supposed to be on a snap count, I believe, especially the first, definitely this week. I imagine for the first couple of weeks. Him being younger, we should see him boost up a little quicker than some of these other guys coming back from Achilles, but like Ricky said, it's not looking good, especially here early in the season. Mafe, I'm not super in love with, but
sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you there.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
But
it's week 1.
I was gonna shower your Dolphin with praise because Jalen Phillips, I think, is a fantastic player and one that I think we unanimously at IDP Plus were slamming the table for a breakout last year before the injury. So it was a real shame. But I do have worries that between the recovery from the injury and the sheer lack of any other pass rushing talent in Miami, because Bradley Chubb is still hurt and nursing his own injury, Jalen Phillips is going to be asked to do a lot in addition to coming off injury. So I'm a little bit worried about him getting to the ceiling that we know is possible. But either way, for the sake of this question with Sam Marshall, Crosby and Greener, to enjoy all the points that those guys give to you. Fancy breakout with a question here. Good to have fantasy football back. You are absolutely right. Let's pick one linebacker here. CJ Mosley against those 49ers. Levante David. Who are the Bucs going against? Anybody know off the top of the head? I forget.
Washington. The Commanders.
Washington. Yep, we got Washington. Levante against Washington. Or Mr. Spillane against the Chargers. 3 good matchups here, I think, in my opinion, at least. So, difficult choice. But where do you think, Shawn?
I'm leaning towards Levante David here, just because I think Washington will have a very heavy run offense going. Plus, Jaden Daniels can take off. So I feel like there's going to be more tackle opportunities there. My concern with Spillane is the defensive line in front of him eating up all the tackles. Crosby, Wilkins.
He went on the IR this morning too, or yesterday.
That's true. That's a shame too, because I was really expecting a good season out of him.
I was stashing leagues, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then Mosley, I like Mosley. I feel like he's definitely getting up in age. He may be slowing down, and it feels like Quincy's taking over there. These are all good options. They really are. I'm just nitpicking here. It's Levante David for me, I think.
Ricky, do you agree?
They are 3 good options, but I'm going to go with Spillane, actually. I just think Chargers are going to try and run the ball, worried about Herbert's foot as well. So I just think that's going to create the most opportunities. I'm not a Christian Wilkins fan for all that there's a lot of excitement around him. I think he's going to do well, but I don't think he's going to do as well as in the past. I'm just not as much a fan. I'm not worried about the defensive line as much. And so I'm going Spillane on this one.
I'll make it unanimous. I was going back and forth because Spillane's the person of these 3, talented players. Spillane's the person that I have the least confidence in retaining his job full season. And I was the biggest I was on that Robert Spillane train months before that breakout last year, but I'm still going to go against him for that matchup alone. And I do think the Chargers are going to be able to get to that second level, and that'll bode well for Mr. Spillane, former Steeler. You miss him. Anyway, over to SRM here with another question, and keep them coming because we have a lot coming through. Offense or defense, we want to hear, we want to help. That's what we're here to do. Pick 4. TJ Edwards, Jake Hansen, Micah McFadden, Nick Morrow, Kenneth Murray, Shaq Thompson, Mac Wilson. A very interesting group. I think we can all agree with TJ Edwards and just focus on 3 names here. So 3 names of everyone there after TJ Edwards. I do not envy you. These are not fun decisions to be making in week 1. I'm gonna let you know. But either of you guys have any immediate thoughts?
I'm throwing Nick Morrow out as my first one out.
I'm starting Murray. He is the number 1 in Tennessee for now. Looks like Ernest Jones is going to be on the bench. So Murray's my second, and Shaq Thompson's my third.
I'm with you on that too. Carolina during the preseason, while Josie Jewell wore the dot, the inside linebackers played roughly the same amount of snaps. They didn't come off. And so they should both get a lot of playing time. So sounds like Edwards, Murray, and Shaq Thompson we're on. So then number 4. I'm not willing to take this chance on Jake Hansen. There could be Toto in there. I think that's too much of a gamble. So I've threw out Morrow already because I don't think Morrow is going to play very much. So I guess that leaves us with Mac Wilson, and he'll play roughly about 70% of the snaps. SRM.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I'll go with Mac Wilson as the 4th. Micah McFadden, someone's I've liked for a while. In terms of, I think he's done a very good job of retaining his role in New York despite, injuries, despite his draft costs. He's a quietly solid player, but he did spend the entire month of August pretty much nursing an injury. So I'm willing to wait 1 more week to see whether we get the Micah McFadden we know and whether he's completely healthy in doing so.
That's exactly why I went Wilson over McFadden as well. This great call up, Michael, was because for the preseason injury and so forth, and how much he's going to play, and a new defensive coordinator. So I would let that play out a week.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly ask you guys a question before we jump to our next question, which is going to be by Fantasy Breakout here, and then following up with Josh. So if I'm curious, Mac Wilson, what are your guys' thoughts on Mac Wilson? Somebody that we know Kazir White will be returning in the exact same role he had last year. But this linebacker 2 role, you got Owen Popo. It's a pretty wide open situation. They gave Mac Wilson a decent amount of money, but maybe it's special team value because that's what he's been best at. What do you guys think? Because I have really struggled to put my finger on how I feel about Mac Wilson this entire summer.
Well, even Josh Woods and Chris Barnes had a little value in that number 2 spot for Arizona last year, and Mac Wilson is definitely no worse than them and better than them. Not that he's a superstar, but I think he'll get some productivity for the playing time that he gets. But he's not. I'm not running to the waiver wire to add him right now at this point.
No, I think that's fair.
Fair. For sure. He's a deep league play at best. Maybe a deep best ball pick. Yeah, dart throw there at the end. I could see him getting a few sacks though. I could see him mixing it up and rushing him. I think that's where his big value would be. Right.
Yeah. No, that would also be. We always love those splash plays. Let's go to Fantasy Breakout here. Ranking 4 for the season, not week 1 for the season. Chris Jones, Will Anderson, Quentin Williams, and Jeffrey Simmons. I am assuming that's Jeffrey Simmons. Quite a good 4 here. I'm just going to throw out my 4 real quick. Chris Jones was an absolute animal on Thursday night, and I'm convinced he's going to have a Defensive Player of the Year season, basically. So I'm going to go Chris Jones, Will Anderson, Quentin, Jeffrey Simmons. I might go Jeffrey Simmons over Quentin. It's very close, but 4 dynamic options. And I see the part 2 to this question. Let's start with the first one. Shawn, what do you think? What's your 4 here?
Without knowing the scoring, just based on pure, sack potential here, I think he has them ranked the way it's listed here. Jones, Anderson, Williams, and Simmons.
Yep.
That's a really good line you got there.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on what the scoring system is, holy cow, that's pretty dominant right there. The only thing I'd say is if Simmons stayed healthy, which he hasn't done in the last year and I believe the year before as well, I could see him potentially over Williams. particularly with Tavondre Sweat, that big 357-pounder from the University of Texas, taking up potentially 2 blockers to control him, freeing up Simmons even more.
That's true.
So there's a possibility there, but because of the injury history, I'd go in the order that he has him here.
Yep, tend to agree over here. The part 2 of this question is about Latu, first round rookie talent out of, I believe it was UCLA, if I'm not brain farting here, UCLA. And on the Colts, lining up opposite Kwity Paye. What do you guys think? What is your expectations for his rookie year? I've seen a lot of people talking about as a dark horse defensive rookie of the year candidate. What do you guys think about Latu? Ricky, I saw you shaking your head first.
So I don't see him being a rookie of the year candidate. Here's why. Despite the injury to Samson Ebukam, who's going to be out for the year now, he is not going to still be starting. The plan is to go with Taekwon Lewis. They also have Deo Odeingbo. Say that fast 3 times once again. And I didn't practice these before the show, by the way.
We know.
We know Odeingbo. Okay, I'm a poet, don't know it. All right, I'll stop. But so Latu, particularly early in the year, is going to be a situational pass rusher, and Lewis is going to start ahead of him. Odeingbo. On top of that, they also rotate their coats. The coats rotate those ends. So Latu, I expect about 6 sacks, 5.5 sacks, but that's about it, and not much more. Not in the defensive rookie of the year race.
Dak Prescott is his walkout music this morning because he has signed a 4-year extension with Dallas. A is back and back again with a lot of money as soon as I find the terms of this. 4 years, $240 million. Get this, $231 million guaranteed. A nearly 4-year fully guaranteed deal essentially for Dak Prescott. We also have more news that Justin Fields will be making the start today in Pittsburgh. They're going to play it safe with Russell Wilson's calf. But 2 big quarterback news right there, especially the Dak Prescott for dynasty purposes. That deal gets done. Who would have thought that Dallas about 3 weeks ago would get the Dak and CD deal done before Jamar Chase gets signed with the Bengals? That's disappointing.
What's interesting about that, so a couple of things. One is I have Dak in a dynasty league, and I'm starting Baker Mayfield over him because I don't trust Dak against the Browns. So that's pretty sad when you think about it for the man who just got $231 million guaranteed. But this could have IDP implications between the Lamb contract and now the Prescott contract. With the salary cap, I don't know if they're going to have room to sign Parsons. This could get really interesting on the IDP front.
They'll find a way. I think they'll find a way. And I think it'll just come at the expense of DeMarcus Lawrence. Of eventually they're going to say, listen, we're going to have to let you walk into the sunset.
And maybe Zach Martin retires too, and maybe that frees up some money. But it's going to create holes elsewhere if they do re-sign him for sure. So this will be really interesting. But congratulations to Dak.
Yep. One less question mark to worry about here. Question from Josh, starting Caleb or Dak. Here we go. Timely question. 16-man PPR team. He's got Dak and Caleb. He's got HN, Zeke, CD. So he does have that stack if you go with Dak. DJ Moore, Njoku, and Tank Dell. That's a pretty good team for a 16-team starter. I'm going to go with Dak. I understand the questions about this Browns defense that he's going to be facing, but I do not feel good about playing any rookie quarterback in their first start. And I am not going to change that for Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb playing together once again. So I'm going with Dak Prescott. What do you guys think? Shawn?
Yeah, I'm going with Dak. I do like the stack with CeeDee Lamb. The Browns defense is really good, but that secondary is a bit banged up. So, yeah, Ferguson's there. He's going to catch plenty of passes. I'm not worried too much about the Browns defense on this one. But, yeah, starting a rookie, the hype is there, but until I see him do anything, I'm benching my rookie quarterbacks if I can.
Yeah. Despite my comment earlier about starting Baker over Dak, which is still going to stick with, quite frankly. I'm not going to bench Dak for a rookie in his first game. So I'm with you all. I'm going with Dak on that one.
Always good when we agree. Keep these questions coming. We're going to TM now. How do you rank these linebackers? I'm going to assume, I'm not sure if this is rest of season or week one. But based on the context, what do you guys think? Maybe it's if you could clarify, TM, if you're still here, but whether this is a rest of season or week one, I'm going to assume it's rest of season just because of the lack of matchups and the overall sentiment about how they're going to fit in the defense. But how do you guys rank these linebackers? Blake Cashman, Tyrell Dodson, Jordan Hicks, Denzel Perryman, and Troy Reader?
Troy Reader for the Rams, yeah.
Yeah. So what do
He's
you guys
on the
think?
bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the bottom. And I think after this question, maybe we could talk about the Rams linebackers in general, Michael. But believe it or not, I think in Mike McDonald's defense that he's bringing from Baltimore to Seattle and seeing what the Ravens linebackers did, I would probably put Dodson first on this list.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely with that.
It's close. All
right,
go on.
No, go, Michael. Go ahead. If it's close for the first one, who do you have for potentially first then?
I like Denzel Perryman this year. It's ugly. It's ugly.
It's the injury concerns.
It's the injury concern. Yes, he will miss time probably, and then he'll never get the job back. But until he does, I think he's going to be a borderline linebacker too. I think he wears the green dye. I think he gets the snaps. I think Denzel Perryman's going to produce. The only worry is just whether he gets hurt. I understand Tyrell Dodson. No problem with Tyrell Dodson. I think he has a better long-term outlook for the rest of the season.
I just think that as the year progresses between one injury, which Perryman always gets injured, and two, there's this gentleman by the name of Junior Colson who ran Minter's defense from Michigan and now is with the Chargers.
Yep.
And of course, he missed a lot of the preseason because I believe it was an appendectomy, if I'm remembering correctly. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that it'll just take a little bit more time, and they'll use Perryman as the injured / veteran in the linebacker room, blah blah blah, and they'll run with Colson and Hanley, particularly as the year goes on and they fall further and further out of the playoff race. So I'm not as keen on Perryman. I'd rather, even though Cashman is injury prone, he's wearing the green dot. We've seen in the Forbes defense that number one linebacker has a lot of value. Even undrafted Ivan Pace, when he was in that role last year, had a ton of value. So I'm Dodson and Cashman as my first and second.
I refuse to gamble on Minnesota. What about you, Shawn?
Yeah, I can't put Cashman that high.
Scary.
Flores, he picks one linebacker, and that's his guy. Until I know who that is, I cannot put Cashman that high. I can put Perryman and Hicks together at 2 and 3. You could flip those either way you want. Hicks, he's been productive. He's getting older. JOK is there in the way as well. And with the way the Browns have rotated their linebackers over the years, I can't put him number one just on those numbers alone. So, yeah, I think it's Dotson, Perryman, Hicks, Cashman, Reader for me. And no, I do not think Reader keeps the job very long.
Yeah, let's take a second here to talk about that, about this linebacker room that is very different than it was 2 weeks ago. With Ernest Jones now in Tennessee, we have a hodgepodge of Christian Rosebloom, Troy Reader, the UDFA sensation that I'm blanking on the name right now. Please, someone help me.
Omar.
Spites.
Omar Spites. Thank you, Spites. That's it. Yeah. So a
he
lot of options.
To play at LSU last year, so that's why I know that name.
There we go. Well, we wonder. I think I know where
unbiased
from this, but aside from all of that, what are we expecting to see from this room? That is, I mean, we really have no data to pull from because Ernest Jones was everything this room was last year, but we know it could be productive. And we also have no Raheem Morris anymore. So a lot of change when we're looking from 2023 to 2024.
So Roseboom is the guy I'm most confident starting right at this point. I don't see him getting a full, 90, 100% tackle range. I still see him staying in 70, probably snap range, 70%. I do think Troy Reader starts the season and probably holds on to it for a week or two, but he's just not athletic enough to keep that. He can't be Ernest Jones. Spites can be, but then it's the inexperience there. So this is going to be a lot of growing pains this year, especially in the beginning. I would stash probably Spites, and if you got Roseboom, I'd hold on to him, but I'm not rushing out to get Troy Reader unless I just have to have a body out there to start this out with. But I don't see him holding on to it long.
If you can trade Reader for anything right now, try and take advantage of it. When Reader gets signed and he's been dropped by many teams and all, it's because he signed for his special teams prowess. It hasn't been because he's a stud linebacker. He's slow, he's stiff, he hustles, I'll give him that, but that's about it. So this is going to be a mess for the Rams this year. And it is a valid argument back to the very first question we took about Cam Curl and potentially him being at the top of that list, even though I didn't put him there because the linebacker play is going to struggle so much. So Jake, it looks like you may have some breaking news here real quick. So let me just get this in real quick, Michael. But so Spites is the one I would be willing to take the chance on. He is a very, very good tackler. He did struggle a little bit in space at LSU, but I could just see it. I'd put it on the taxi squad if you have one, and then later in the year, I think he becomes a starter week 10 or so, and hopefully leads you to a playoff victory. Go ahead, Michael, with the breaking news.
My favorite part about this little blocked graphic you see in the bottom left is watching Shawn immediately go to his phone to try to see what I'm about to say.
I'm catching up with like 15 notifications I got.
As am I. It's really difficult, honestly. I have to keep on getting rid of the Twitter notifications. But out of Cincinnati, I take back what I said before. Jamar Chase, despite an illness, despite no contract, and despite limited practice and holding out, will be active today. So that's going to be the big question mark that I hope we get some resolution about over the next hour is how much is Jamar Chase going to play? But my answer is also he's signing autographs before he head into the locker room. I play Jamar Chase when Jamar Chase is active, and until I have a good reason to think otherwise, I still think that way. So
I'm playing Chase too. If he's active, I'm playing him. All it takes is one or two catches for him, and he could blow up on one of those catches, a 40-yard touchdown pass, and you got 11 points right there. So I'm playing Chase.
Let me throw some questions out to both of you guys: Chris Godwin or Jamar Chase?
If he's active, Chase.
Yeah,
all presuming he's active. Yeah,
I'll take Chase over Godwin, but there are a few I would bench Chase for.
Higgins
is out.
Fields?
No.
Let's see. Who else? Am I looking at one of my dynasty rosters and just pointing out names? Possibly. Stephon Diggs?
I don't trust Diggs or anybody over there just yet. That's such a mess at wide receiver. I'm going to have to see that for a week or two.
Yeah, they're both good
for who? Who's going to get all the targets? You can name like 5 people. Everybody gets a touchdown. Okay.
Gets sauced up today is kind of what I'm starting to think, or at least it's going to be I don't have a lot of faith in that Colts secondary to hold up against the Texans. But Ricky, would you play Diggs over Chase? You just playing Chase, and we'll
I am playing Chase. If I took him with my first round pick, or I've got him on Dynasty or whatever, he's just too much of a stud, and that's not because of my LSU bias. He's just too freaking good.
No.
Yeah.
No
so now,
Jamar Chase.
Now, do I think we heard about Ayuk in the news related to, he's not going to play a full complement of snaps, but if they, so sit him on running plays, not a problem. Chase, same thing could happen too, but Chase is too good to sit. I'd still be playing Ayuk as well, as a side note. Yeah. By the way, other breaking news: the Packers still haven't decided if they're going to start Sean Clifford or Malik Willis next week.
Man.
So
Ryan Tannehill. is going to be the starter in 2 weeks.
That's gross.
So gross. It's not fair.
Malik Willis is not going to get it done. So
yeah. And we can confirm, by the way, T. Higgins, who entered this weekend as doubtful, is officially inactive for week 1 because that man needs a new hamstring. Let's get back to these questions in the chat. Continue to keep them going. So got plenty of time, a good 25 minutes. Try to help you guys get your best lineups out there. We did those 2. Good old Rougarou, as we always love to see in the chat.
What's up, Rougarou?
Good old who dat to our New Orleans man over there.
Bonjour.
Let's go to TM here. Please ranking the defensive lineman here rest of season. It is that can't be a tackle is 5 points, right? Okay, it is. Oh man,
tackle is 5 points.
5-point tackle, 3-point assist, 10 points for a sack, 5 for pass defense, 7 for the forced fumbles. We love the IDP juice scoring. I'm curious if TFL's in there. Let me see if that was a future comment or not. But if we had TFLs, I don't know if that changes anything for me because at the end of the day,
sorry, do we think that's Dexter Lawrence or DeMarcus Lawrence? I'm thinking
it doesn't matter. I'm not putting either one of them up higher than those first 3 guys.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go Quinnen, Greenard, and Rousseau. I'm not gonna go Hubbard. I'm going
to go Hubbard because of the tackles.
Yeah,
5 points a tackle.
I am so high on Rousseau this year, though. He is my breakout defensive end this year.
10 points a sack still.
Yeah. I think Rousseau hits double-digit sacks this year.
This is the year. This is like I've been such a fan of him for so long, just because his build is so freakishly unique, and we don't talk about it enough. His arms are just so ridiculously long. He's just a really physical freak, and I really do think he puts it together this year. So that's where I'll go. But you're going to go Hubbard over Rousseau and go Quinnen and Greenard, Shawn?
Yeah. Quinnen, Greenard, Hubbard. I like Hubbard over Rousseau. I knew you guys like him, but he just disappears. And they still rotate those guys around quite a bit.
Definitely.
Yeah, Hubbard, we've seen him throw down lots of tackles in a season, and at 5 points, it only takes 2 tackles to equal that 1 sack Rousseau is going to get you.
Yeah. Yep. I expect one of the things about Rousseau when you watch him play, he runs all over the field, and I expect he'll get more snaps as well. So mine are Williams. I always forget if it's Greenard or Grenard and Rousseau. Those are my 3, not necessarily in that order. I have Rousseau at the top, but you can tell I'm all in on Rousseau this year.
Yep, love it. Let's jump on down to Perksept here. We got, let's see, he wanted to share his team, any upgrades, or I guess we could give our thoughts on these guys. He's also got Jonathan Greenard in the flex. Nnamdi, is that how Matabuke pronounces his name now? Nnamdi?
Nnamdi.
So, yeah.
Nnamdi.
Nnamdi Matabuke, Chris Jones, Roquan Smith, Will Anderson, Kyle Duggar, Derek Stingley, Jonathan Greenard in the front. In the flex, I think you are perfectly happy, and you should be about this team because that is filthy good. And you already started off with a strong Roquan Smith performance on Thursday night. Yeah, I improve very much so.
The only one in look, I'm going to let you guys have made very clear, Derek Stingley. I just don't know if they're going to throw it as much at him. He had such a great end of year last year, and he had a great preseason. I just see teams avoiding him a little bit more. So that's the one thing to be careful of is while he's a top cornerback, depending on your scoring system, he just might not get the opportunities. So that's the one thing I might have you consider looking at other cornerbacks. It's always better. It's always best, unfortunately, to have the number 2 cornerback who isn't that good on your roster, or obviously the slot cornerback would be the first choice.
Yeah, Matabuke is also someone I'm a little bit worried about, not because I don't believe in him at all, because I think he's a fantastic player, but that, the Ravens lost their entire defensive coaching staff, and the defense played well for 2 quarters in week 1. We'll see about the rest, and it's Patrick Mahomes, so I'm not going to ding him too much. But Matabuke, just because he's a defensive tackle, he's coming off significant career highs. We're naturally going to see some regression from him, so I do worry a little bit there, but some weeks might just be really painful floors. But Shawn, what do you think about this group?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. When it comes to corner, I'm streaming anyway. Stingley, he's probably going to get you a couple weeks, but I always be willing to find that matchup that really benefits and just keep those guys rotating. Matabuke, I'm also worried about. I don't see him hitting the sacks he did last year. Their matchups this year are pretty favorable. Like he's got the potential to do it. I mean, he could get double-digit sacks again, but I'm expecting somewhere between 8, 9, probably sacks, tackles. Again, that's just going to come and go. You're going to have them. Yeah, it's just the nature of the position.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Let's go back to fantasy sports here with another question here.
Hey,
who should he start?
Just jumping in real quick, Michael. Sorry,
Please.
Montez Sweat is active. And then the other thing that's interesting is the Bengals made Kendrick Pryor inactive. So once again, back to the Chase discussion, they had called him up from the practice squad, but then made him inactive. So that would bode well for Chase. Sorry, Michael.
No, that's a really good call out. It's a very good call out. So that's good to see as well. Keenan Allen will play. Roshan Johnson is inactive. DeAndre Hopkins is active. Darrell Taylor, which is a very interesting name, will play today. So that's someone I'm keeping an eye on because I'm really curious about Darrell Taylor's role this year. What do you guys think about him in terms of this opportunity that he might have in Seattle, but or in Chicago since he's been traded opposite Montez Sweat? Do you think we could see anything from Darrell Taylor? Because I'm trying to stash him in leagues where I have that extra bench spot.
Maybe a flex play at when you have bye weeks and so forth, but not much more than that. I know he had a year when he had 8 sacks or whatever, but he won't do much on the run stop tackle side of things. So just a flex play in deep league for me. Shawn, I don't know if you feel differently.
Yeah, I'm not big on him. Sweat's the clear-cut winner down there.
Oh yeah.
If anything, I think it helps Sweat having a better option on the other side. It will help free him up a little more. So maybe a handful of sacks.
Yep, the Marcus Davenport role. I understand. Tyrell Dodson, Blake Cashman. Let's start with those two. So you got Tyrell Dodson today against the rookie sensation of Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, and you got Blake Cashman against the Giants. I'm going Dodson. And I don't even feel like I have a good reason for it, to be honest. But I kind of like the matchup a little bit more. I somehow think Denver will be on the field on offense more than the Giants.
Well, the scoring or stat crew in Seattle is always a plus, and that's where they're at. So Dodson. And we don't know for sure what the Cashman pace lineup's going to look like yet. I'm not starting either one of those guys right now. So Dodson's definitely has a role.
Yeah, exactly. Dodson should play 100% of the snaps, wear the green dot. We talked about the Mike McDonald defense earlier, and Shawn's great point about they're talking about Cashman, but there's a little bit risk, absolutely. So I'm going with Dodson on that one.
Also, we can confirm that kicker Matt Gay is out as well for anybody that has drafted him as easily my most drafted kicker this year, and I've already had to cut him in every single league I've done since.
But Russell Wilson is inactive as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Kendrick Lamar will also do the halftime show this year, which that'll be awesome, but not fantasy related. And let's get to more questions here. Well, we got the second half here. Jonathan Greenard or Quinnen Williams. Greenard, there's not many options I'm benching Greenard for against the Giants. With all due respect to Mr. Quinnen, I am playing every defensive end against the Giants this season. Every single one that has a remote semblance of talent and money attached to their name.
Fantasy sports, I'd be interested, though, in the scoring there, potentially,
Sure.
if you could let us know on that. Because Williams against that middle of that 49ers offensive line
is not a good line.
It is not a good line. It's not a bad matchup either for that beast. So maybe fantasy sports, if you could let us know a little bit more on the scoring system, that might change our mind. Not knowing anything, I think I would lean towards Greenard against the Giants O-line. but it's not that far apart depending on the scoring system.
Yes, sir. All right. So, well, we can now put this one out of the question for the card shop here. Chase is playing today, so does that change anything? Would you play Goff over Burrow? Burrow against New England, Goff in a. I'm blanking on who they're playing against, but it's a good matchup. I know that.
Rams.
The Rams.
In a possible shootout against the Rams, which again will be in a dome, so good for Jared Goff that way. But which one of you guys would you play, Goff or Burrow, Shawn?
No, actually leaning Goff here just because of the shootout potential. I haven't seen Burrow play in a long time, so last time I seen Goff, he was lighting it up. So I'm expecting a big shootout, a lot of scoring, a lot of touchdown throws. I'm taking Goff this week.
What about you, Ricky?
I almost choked on that answer. I'm riding with Burrow in this one against the Patriots. Sorry. I just there's no Belichick, so even though a lot of the Patriots guys are coming back, but there's no Moore, there's no Judon for pass rushing and all. I think Burrow's just gonna be able to sit there and just pick them apart, kind of thing. So not that Goff is a bad choice in all seriousness, but I'm going with Burrow in this one, particularly with Chase playing.
Yeah, I think these guys are going to finish within 5 points of each other, within 3 even, if I have to narrow it down. But if I have to pick one, I'm starting one, I'm going to go Burrow as well. It's really close, though. Really, really close. If I had QB rankings, they'd probably be back-to-back. Richard Malone is saying, when can we expect to see everyone's favorite sleeper this year's IDP darling? It feels like Joe Anderson in Buffalo. Can we expect to see him?
You could see him today on the bench.
On the bench.
In street clothes, because he's inactive.
Is he inactive? Okay.
He is inactive. I just looked. So great story. University of Buffalo makes the Buffalo Bills. Wore a green dot during preseason, got all kind of snaps, but he's a Troy Reader type, folks. So when can you expect to see him? If Bernard gets hurt, Williams gets hurt, Morrow gets hurt. Who else am I forgetting?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, unfortunately, Richard, he'll be inactive most weeks. You might get if there's an injury, maybe some special teams, but I wouldn't. I hope you didn't spend a lot of fab money to pick him up.
It's always he's one of those names that is very common on the offensive side of the ball, where we fall in love in August. And then we realize that outside of the deepest of dynasty circles, we're going to have to wait at least a year to see if this stash was anything more than an August flash to the pan, which happens every year. And it does feel like Joe Anderson fits in that category. Adam Kahn asking on Facebook here, he has a 14-team, 11-man IDP league. Jared Verse in his rookie debut against the Detroit Lions, or Will Anderson. It's Will Anderson today for me without much question. I imagine we got full heads nodding around the corner here. Any additional thoughts, or we some nods on that one?
I'm going to go with
stick with the nod on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Will Anderson, very good player. Very good player. Anthony Richardson still can't handle pressure. Fancy Breakout asking favorite defense to stream. I love all these. I've been trying to. God, this is not fun.
This feels like for a survivor pool.
Yeah, Bengals against New England, Saints against the Panthers, Seahawks against Denver. 3 of the most likely teams in the NFL to pick 101 next season. Which one are you picking? Dealer's choice, man. I really like the Seahawks defense, honestly.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
But I also have the most faith in the Denver offense of all these offenses.
I do not. I'm
not in week 1.
I'm not trusting Bo Nixon week 1 as well. So then the question is, which defense would you prefer to have later in the year? If it's you use one and you lose them,
for the record.
Yeah, but I think some of these survivor pools, once you use them, you can't use them again.
Are we doing a survivor pool? I think it's just a DST.
Just a DST, okay. All 3 of them are good, but believe it or not, I don't trust the Saints would be 3rd on the list for me. Maybe it's not a believe it or not. And I'd flip a coin between Bengals and Seahawks. I'd run with the Bengals on this one, folks.
Yeah, the only reason I go Seahawks is because I know rookie quarterbacks in their first start, if it's on the road, I believe they're 8-19 straight up. So that's it's a tough ask for anybody, and then you send them into Seattle. That's not a very fun environment for a rookie to play
It's
in.
loud. They're going to be coming in hot.
And I believe in this Seahawks team. I think they're going to be really, really. I think it's a playoff team. Right outside of it or right inside. Also, Adam Kahn, extra information about that Jared Verse or Will Anderson question. Only 0.75 for a sack and 2.5 for a TFL. It still doesn't change anything for me between Will Anderson and Jared Verse, but it does make it more interesting. Any thoughts? Any changes?
It's still Anderson.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. OPTM got back to us before about no tackles for a loss on that one, so I don't think that changes any of our answers there. Thanks for getting back to us on that. Let's go to another one with Adam Kahn here. Offensive side of the ball, Jameson Williams or Yoshivas. Not PPR, but there is a bonus for big plays. I'm going Jameson Williams here without much question, especially with Jamar Chase active. I still think Yoshivas still has a decent target rate this game, but it could be Trenton Irwin. It could be one of those guys is going to have a decent flex week. I don't know which one. So I'm going to go with James Williams as the clear-cut wide receiver 2 in my opinion, favorable matchup against the Rams there. Now, Ricky is deep in thought.
I'm deep in thought on this one. I'm actually so who is the number 2 target person for Cincinnati?
Mike Sicoli.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that too. I think it's Yoshivas, and whereas Jameson Williams has got Amon-Ra, Laporta, Gibbs. I'm actually going to Yoshivas on this one, Adam.
Enjoy being wrong, Ricky. It's Jameson Williams this week. He's going to catch a couple long bombs for touchdowns in this big shootout. They're not going to need any extra help against the Patriots. So we're going to need Jameson Williams. He's going to get the targets. He's going to get them catches.
I don't hate the call, Ricky, at all. Because I think what gets lost in all the Jameson Williams hype right now that he's done Jack Diddley since entering the league.
Both of them have, so let's throw that out there.
Yeah, of course. But Yoshivas has a very good opportunity against this very weak team. So I'm still going to go James Williams, but it's very close. I think the 2-point bonus for 40-yard catches makes the difference for me there. Although obviously still unlikely to get. So Adam also says he loves Stevenson on the bench for the Bears. Oh, this was our talk about cornerback too. He's getting exposed. Yep, I can know that just by you saying Tyreek Stevenson, who I still like, but certainly struggled at times. $100 Fabs. He's a bit weak at linebacker. How much should he drop on Zach Bond, the Thursday night sensation, or will Devin White's return drop the tackle numbers? Now, Ricky, let me know for sure. Are we getting a return of the IDP waiver show?
Yes, we are going to have a waiver show on Tuesdays. That is correct.
I am sure this is going to be easily the most discussed topic on that show. We can give a little bit of insight now, but want to highly encourage people to check out our Tuesday waiver wire show with Justin Fry and Joe Harlow, assuming they're both doing it again.
Actually, it's going to be different people doing it this year.
Beautiful. Okay. Either way, we got some people talking about that, and Zach Bond's Thursday night performance is certainly going to be putting quite the emphasis on the waiver wire this week with the Devin White return. I say we try to come back to this if we still have time. I want to try to get to more week 1 questions, but Adam, we'll try to circle back to this one as well. Richard asking with Chase active, start Joe Burrow or Tua. We got the Tyreek situation as well, but that doesn't really worry me too much. I'm going to go Tua slightly, but Dolphins fan, nodding along.
Yeah, I'm biased. Plus, he's got more weapons active, I would say.
No Malik Washington, though.
That's right. That hurts me, too, because I'm excited to see him get turned loose.
I am, too.
I think the Jacksonville defense is underrated, and the Miami Dolphins offensive line is a problem. Now, Tua says, well, I'll let it go in 2 seconds or less than 2 seconds. They can't get to me.
Check it down to Achane, touchdown. Raheem, touchdown. Tyreek Hill, touchdown. Waddle, touchdown.
Jonnu
That's 4
Smith.
right there. Yeah, Jonnu Smith's going to get half a touchdown somehow.
I'm not against Tua, but between the two, I have so little faith in the Patriots right now. That's why I'm leaning Burrow in this one.
Yeah.
I think you have two good choices, Richard. It's a split vote.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. Again, I don't think these guys are going to be too different. I think it's going to be all in this QB 8 to 14 range, which is all going to be very close to each other. I'll still go Tua slightly, but I got no issues with going with Burrow in that juicy matchup with Jamar Chase as well. Good old Skinny Will hopping in the chat here, wishing us a great season, unless we're in the Invitational and he's wishing the worst for us. How rude.
We're all in it.
Off the screen
Will,
immediately.
Can I just tell Skinny Chef / Will, we miss you. When you coming back, buddy? Come on back.
Miss you. We do miss you. We love Will.
Reach out to Nathan or me separate, Skinny.
We all love our Brittany right
Yes,
here.
Brittany.
The fantasy footballers are writing for it now. We're so proud. So either way, let's go over to TM. He wants to be ahead of the waiver wire, a good mindset to have, save a good player on the bench. So just looking for pure talent here, not position dependent. Greenard, these guys are on the wire. Good choices. Greenard, Delpit, Perryman, or Hicks. If we're looking purely for position, I think I'm stashing Greenard and seeing what the hell I got. And also if I could cash in on a big week 1 performance, that's also a possibility. What do you guys think? Ricky?
Greenard.
Shawn?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Delpit, defensive backs, you can swap those guys around. That's not a big deal. Perryman and Hicks, injury issues, playing time issues.
Older. Yep.
Yeah, if you get hit on a defensive lineman in week 1, those are the guys you're going to struggle to find later in the year.
Sure. So, yeah, Greenard's got a definite starting position, and he's taking over for that Daniil Hunter role. So,
yep. Can't complain that Brian Flores system. Fantasy breakout outlook for Antoine Winfield this year. Can he repeat those numbers? No, because he's had a ridiculously efficient season because he's such a good player. And his efficiency came with those superfluous stats that we see dip year to year. He's still going to be great.
Yeah.
He's still going to be awesome. But no, he cannot repeat what was, the one of the best safety seasons we've seen in the last few years.
Yeah, that's correct. Expecting a repeat of that is just way too much. Just don't see it happening. The laws of physics would not support it.
What a shame. Greg McCormick asking Tua or Fields 6-point passing touchdown, 1 QB league. We're going Tua in the 6-point passing touchdown league. If you told me 4, I might consider Fields, but that Atlanta defense is good. I believe in this Atlanta team. So I'm going to go with Tua without much thought here. As the Steeler fan telling you to stay away from Pittsburgh, it's going to happen again. This whole year is going to happen again. It's going to be a bad offense. They're going to scrape to 8-9 or 9-8, and it's not going to matter. Fantasy Sports asking, follow up on Jonathan Greenard versus Quinn Williams. Does it change anything for you with the 5-point tackles, 3-point assists, 10, 5, 7? It's the same scoring as we saw before. I'm still going Greenard here.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Fantasy Breakout asking, do we like Pitre or Buda Baker this year? 2 difficult guys to narrow down considering what we originally perceived them to be and now the change roles that they each have. I was going to go to Shawn, but Ricky raising his hand, very polite, will go to you.
Jalen Pitre to the moon. Holy cow. To the moon. He is going to be this year's #1 safety. You can just mark it down here now.
Again, 2 times in the last 3 years. It'd be quite something.
He is going to be used correctly this year. They're using him in that corner star position in the slot, so he plays safety and then move in the slot. He's going to blitz more. He's improved his tackling. He's going to be used just right. Petrie.
Shawn, I could tell you disagreed there.
I disagree with Petrie being the #1 safety, but I do agree he is going to be back up towards the top.
All right. Good to know. Let's get to these last few questions in the final minute of the show here. Richard Malone asking, Xavier Legette, Rome Odunze, thoughts? In general, I am not very high on Xavier Legette, and I am very high on Rome Odunze. I have No faith in Rome Odunze to do anything this season. I think we are. You can exactly write in what JSN did last year and just put that in for Rome Odunze. We have the exact same coordinator that had JSN last year. We have a very similar pecking order. We have a solid, but probably not going to take the world by fire as a rookie, Caleb Williams, where I don't think he's going to be much better than Geno Smith at his best in his rookie year. So love Odunze.
One thing on rookie wide receivers too, when you have a breakout, a 1-year breakout, and it's very, very late in your career as a wide receiver in college, they don't always often translate to the pros quite as well, and that's what Leggett did. So I'd just be real careful in Leggett.
Yeah. Plus, you got Deontay Johnson, who's obviously going to be controlling a large portion of targets there. That's what he's done his entire career. Raise the hand, go for it.
With it being the top of the hour, we're going to have to rush through the final questions also. We'll do it rapid fire. But I do want to take a moment to encourage everyone to go to IDP Plus and sign up. We have great information. We're going to have great articles. We have some great tools out there, and we're rankings, etc. There's just some phenomenal stuff out there. Go to IDP Plus, check it out. We also have 2 other YouTube channels now. We have an IDP Plus props betting channel, which including college information, which has already won some money here in the college ranks and all. And we have our shorts channel. So please go check out all 3 of those. If you're enjoying this kind of content here, we're going to have a lot more great stuff through the website and our YouTube channels.
Yeah, if you're here checking out what we have to say here, imagine being able to have access to that type of feedback and that type of just
our
conversations that we'd like to have nonstop through our Discord channels and all the other stuff, the tools that are offered. Completely agree with Ricky there. Let's run through these rapid fire now. Card Shop saying he's got epic money on James and Williams this week. I hope you can retire early. What time the waiver show on Tuesdays? Noon? Is it noon Eastern?
Last year it was noon Eastern. I'm not sure the time this year. My apologies. Okay. But check our YouTube channel and our website, and also follow us on Twitter, and it'll come out there.
So social media, the best way to find out when we're going to be doing those things, because we'll drop those times well in advance. So be sure to check that one out. Dan Murphy asking Jalen Petrie, Buda Baker, Cam Curl. Quickly order them. I'm going Petrie, Curl, Baker to give an idea on how high I am on Curl.
Yeah.
We all agree? Okay, awesome. Fantasy Sports asking, should you keep any bench players in Christian Watson and Lad McConkey? Definitely keep Christian Watson. Or drop any for Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakir, Zeke Elliott, Rico Dowdle, or either of the Tennessee backs. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I would drop McConkey for Pollard. Yeah, but close.
If those wide receivers are available, I'm dropping McConkey and picking up Pollard.
I think Palmer outproduces McConkey.
Yeah, that's in fact that would, until I saw Pollard at the end, and I was going to say Pollard for McConkey.
Shawn, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm with you guys.
Okay, gotcha. Also, got to shout out 3 red zone targets on 5 targets for Christian Watson on Thursday night. Friday night. Let's keep an eye on that. Fancy break go. Clarifying here, Petrie or Winfield as defensive back. Ricky, DP1 overall.
Okay, so maybe I was a little bit strong.
Yeah.
Okay, let's call it a top 5. But Petrie still have a great year. I don't think you go either one. And believe it or not, if I have both of those, I'm trying to trade Winfield for a stud linebacker or something like that for someone who's looking at last year's stats and keeping Petrie.
This guy.
Yeah, I traded Petrie 2 years ago when he already maxed out. That's
and then buy him back on the cheap.
There you go. There you go.
Be bold or go home, man.
Final question here from TM. Should he drop Justin Black or Julian Blackmon for Grant Delpit? Felt like Grant Delpit was very inconsistent last year, and any worries about that's a separate one. We'll do the Kyle Hamilton question after. I would pick up Delpit for Blackmon more so because I'm actually more concerned about Blackmon than I am with Delpit. And I also think that Delpit got better as the year went on, and it felt like, especially with JOK and a lot of that Browns defense, that they were really very much figuring it out as it went, what worked, and then they stuck with it. And I think Delpit was something that worked incredibly well. So I'm still going to go Delpit. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah. I trust Delpit way more than Blackman. Blackman has better linebackers in front of him too, so that eats up a little bit of that tackle opportunity.
The risk with Blackman too, he could be moved to that free safety spot, which Bradley used and plays him deep, and all because of the challenges they had. Nick Cross didn't do it. Rodney Thomas, they dropped Harrison. So if he moves to that free safety spot, he's really be hurt, and I pick up Delpit.
I'm going to put the house on Houston this week. They're going to sauce them in that secondary. Anyway, any worries about Kyle Hamilton? The way we saw him used in week 1, moved around quite a lot from the slot to the box to deep to safety. They used him everywhere. I'm not worried. It's a Kelsey format, or it's a Kelsey game plan, and it worked, and kind of. But
I'm not worried about
Kyle Hamilton.
None for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as last year, right?
Yep. No worries for me either. Final one, Cam Curl, Jeremy Chin. Last question of the day. Strong one, difficult one to start. I'm going to go Curl because I need to see with Chin first. I can't. It's been 3 years since I felt good.
I have so many teams with both these guys starting.
So you're facing the decision.
Like these are no. They are my 2 starters.
Oh, they're
like those are the guys I got later because I pushed defensive back off, safety and all that. So I like both these guys.
Ricky?
I know Chin's in a new situation in Washington, but Curl's in a new situation in Los Angeles as well. I'm gonna go with Chin on this one.
Okay. One final question in before the bell, I guess. Here we go. David and White Songbees, we're here to help the people. Are we benching Ayuk? He's got Neighbors and Tank Dell. I would play both those guys over Ayuk this week.
Yes.
I love Ayuk rest of season, but between the Jets and the very quick turnaround of him sitting out and them literally saying he's going to have a limited role, and having strong options in Malik Neighbors and Tank Dell,
for sure,
who I just talked about, will destroy this cold secondary. I will play either of those guys over Ayuk.
Agreed. You hit it all the key points.
Okay. At Neighbors or Tank Dell?
Neighbors.
I kind of go ahead.
I was just going to say Neighbors is going to get 11 targets this week.
If it's PPR, I like Neighbors more. If it's not PPR, I like Tank Dell more.
I agree with that. I love the distinction. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We've gone a little bit over, but we're happy to do so for week 1, the start of our fantasy football season. We want to thank Ricky here and Sean here for tuning in. Be sure to follow both these guys on Twitter at Ricky Rod66. Let me take this off screen. And also Sean here, obviously, at Sean8386. You follow myself at Michael__Sicoli. And you should also 1000% be following IDP Plus, because for shows like we were just talking about before with the waiver wire show, all those updates, all that content, all those articles, the weekly wrap-ups, all the stuff that you need to dominate your fantasy leagues, those stuff are posted through our socials and they're posted to our members at IDP Plus. So be sure to check it out. Be sure to grab a membership. It's a really good time over here. And if you are still wondering about more, feel free to hit up any of us on our Twitter DMs. We could help you walk through the process and tell you a little bit more about it. Always happy to do so. Any final thoughts for our listeners here before we descend on week 1?
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck. Hope you all have a great season, and may your teams be injury-free.
May they be injury-free. The best wish we can put on anybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay healthy, stay safe. Good luck with week 1, and we hope you get your fantasy points.